needed it to work within this. So I set the rules, I made it fun, and we started like one of those BNI groups, but we called it Pensacola Power Players. And so we had, one person from each industry, and that was really critical as far as getting, some leads. But Facebook groups, that was so huge for me.
This is the Agent Goldmine, where you'll find real talk, and ambition. We're here to build real businesses and be more than your average agent. We want to know what the killers are actually doing within their businesses, the reality of it, all tactical, no fluff. So we're here to find out. Please share and enjoy. Christina Leavenworth in the freaking house. Thank you so much for joining. I am pumped. Shelby and I are both pumped to have you on.
I am so excited to be here. You are two of my favorite ladies in the world, so I'm excited to do this.
Don't make me blush. Don't make me blush. So, okay, I want to go into your stats because you are very impressive, and I want to tell everyone immediately how impressive you are. You are in the Florida Panhandle. So for those that are also in the Panhandle, listen to this. Even if you're not in the Panhandle, listen to this. The niche that you're working with, you went from being a news anchor to residential real estate, helping people buy and sell in the residential space. And you have been killing it. So you've been an agent since 2017. You have sold over 800 homes, close to 300 million in volume. Just the last year in 2022, you did 50 million in volume, 50, and sold 165 homes. And this year, 2023, we're in July, you are on track to close 200 with a volume of 38 million sold. You are a team leader and you purposely have a team of 6. You said that at some point, like you had grown and now, so that number 6 is very intentional, which I want to get into. Thank you so much. I'm excited to dig into this.
Absolutely. It's been such a fun ride. Coming from news, people like hearing this story. I was a news anchor. I did the morning show. So I worked from 4 a.m. until noon. And believe it or not, TV news anchors don't get paid very much money. We're kind of on par with teachers. And you're working crazy hours. And after a while, you're just like, maybe there's something better out there. So I got my real estate license when I was pregnant. Honestly, I was bored and I couldn't drink wine. So my husband's like, do something, stop driving me crazy. So I got my license thinking it would just be a part-time thing so I could play with the MLS. And then quickly realized a lot of the skills that we learned in news as journalists translate really, really well to real estate. That just hustle mentality, work hard, get the job done. And I absolutely love it.
Dude, it's crazy. I really had no idea that news anchors didn't make jack until we were talking, and we all know each other from the Real Estate Rockstars mastermind that we went to this past year in Austin. So if you listeners have not heard of that, you should check out Real Estate Rockstars, the podcast and the mastermind. It's like an awesome place to meet badass people. But yeah, when you first told me that, Christina, I was like, what? They don't make jack. But okay, so my question is, you're getting out of this news anchor, role and into real estate. Like, how and where did your leads come from? Because I think you mentioned at one point there was like a non-compete. Is that what happened with that?
Yeah. And back to your point about not making jack. My first job in Pennsylvania, I made $17,000 a year. That is insane. And I was, telling major stories, interviewing governors, making that type of money. And then toward the end of it, made around $50,000 being a main anchor in a decent sized market, which is just crazy. But anyways, so I was still working the TV job when I started doing real estate. They allowed me to do that, but I was limited. They did not want me to use any part of my TV influence to grow real estate. And I can understand that. So I was very limited on social media marketing. I was limited on even using my phone number just to play it safe. I went by my actual last name rather than my TV name. And that made it tough. And it was more of a hindrance. A lot of people thought I got a leg up because of that. Instead, I had to really think outside the box on, all right, how do I get to know people when I can't use my social media? I can't use my name. I can barely even use my voice. Like I couldn't do videos. So I had to get creative.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, immediately when you say that unrelated to real estate, there are a couple of news anchors, specifically like weather people that I follow that have a huge TikTok, Instagram following. How have the rules changed? And I know you can't speak for everything, but.
So you could use social media 100%. We were able to get a following, but I could not talk real estate. So I could not be like, hey, I do real estate. I could do news stories. So I did have a decent following, nothing like some of the weather people you see in those bigger markets. So I do think probably way down the road it helped, but at the beginning it didn't because I was not allowed to say, hey, by the way, I do real estate.
Wow. So talk about having your hands tied. And like a lot of people are like, oh, I'm too scared to go on social media. You couldn't use social media, which is wow. So how did you get the leads? What did you do?
Yeah, I mean, so I went old school. So I door knocked. I had a 6-month-old baby and I was like, I'll bring her with me because hopefully people will be nicer to me if I have a baby with me. Just trying anything. I door knocked and honestly, not a ton came from that because I wasn't real committed. But I started my own networking group because I needed it to be a specific time because I had to be in bed by 7 p.m. because I was working at 4 a.m. and I needed it to work within this. So I set the rules, I made it fun, and we started like one of those BNI groups, but we called it Pensacola Power Players. And so we had, one person from each industry, and that was really critical as far as getting, some leads. But Facebook groups, that was so huge for me. I don't know if they're oversaturated now, but I joined a lot of the military groups. And when people are moving to an area, they're asking, hey, tell me about the schools. Is this street safe? They're saying different things to alert you that a move is coming rather than, hey, I need a realtor. By the time they say, hey, I need a realtor, 500 people are responding. But putting different things out there indicating they may move. And I was, sitting there on the anchor desk, like sending them messages like, hey, you're going to be moving here. Let's talk. When can we meet? When can we FaceTime? And because I had to do it where it was on my terms as far as scheduling showings. And for people moving from out of town, doing virtual tours, that's huge because I stipulate when we can go see the house. So that was huge.
That makes a ton of sense. And I love how, of course, you had an actual job where you had to be there. You said 4 a.m. and you're there all day, but you still found a way through Facebook groups to actively pursue. I just love all sorts of those. I made work because there's so many people who have every excuse for why it can't work. But with the Facebook group, so were you just stalking them? Did you see them post? Did you DM them or what was their strategy there? How'd that look?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times when you're living in the groups, the algorithm also starts to see that. So rather than seeing your friends' feed, you're more likely to see things that are being posted in those groups if you're just constantly commenting and in them. So if somebody said something, I'd like it. And then I'd say, hey, I sent you a DM, check your messages, because a lot of times they won't see it if you're not a friend. So you friend request them, then you send them a DM, and then hopefully they respond. And I would kind of stay on it. And then I would just kind of keep responding to it. And it was a lot of, military spouses. And then they have friends and then they tell others and it really grows from there. So that's how I did it on that one. And as well, just not being afraid to reach out to your friends and family. And I remember my husband, I had a friend who said she was intending to sell. And I sent her a message yeah, Christina, I'll be in touch with you. And the next week, he's like, well, did you follow up with her? And I'm like, well, no, she said she'd be in touch with me. He's like, no, you need to follow up with her. So I'm like, hey, Brittany, it's me again. Just checking in on that move. And she's like, oh, sorry, Christina. Yeah, and I did that every week. And I felt so weird and so annoying. But she told me when we ultimately sold her home, she was so happy I did that because it kept her on the ball.
About how many Facebook groups did you end up joining?
Oh, right now, I think I'm in 600 Facebook groups. It's crazy.
600.
So I'll talk about because for marketplace, the more groups you're in, because you can auto post, it makes it a lot easier. But then I was really trolling probably 10 or 12 groups. So any sort of mom groups was huge. So different neighborhoods have their mom groups. You can sometimes get into the HOA or subdivision groups. You have to be sneaky. And if people hear this, they'll be like, you shouldn't be doing that. And then a bunch of military groups and different things that would indicate somebody might be moving or a place where they would at least ask.
Dude, I love how you just said, I'm probably not supposed to do that, whatever. I just got a nasty gram the other day from the GSD mode podcast that just came out. I did my whole I emailed everyone in my military unit organization and they were like, that's so up. How could you? So haters gonna hate. I respect that you're in the HOAs that you don't live in. Go, Christina.
No, it works out. And I'm not a military spouse, and I'm in these military spouse groups. So I'll probably get kicked off after this, but I have provided them some good support. And whenever I've been pushed on it, I was like, well, I did fly with the Blue Angels and I went to Paris Island on a news story and they've let me stay. So it's fine.
Dude, pushing all the limits. But you mentioned something. You said that you can auto post in Marketplace. What is that? What are you talking about?
Thank you for listening. Out of respect for your time, we want to make this show as valuable as possible for you. So if you have any feedback on how we can improve, please let us know. DM us at Ali the Agent and The Shelby Show.
So you can't auto post. So I do Marketplace quite a bit where we'll post our homes for sale. And what's great about that is not just Marketplace, it'll allow you to post in I think up to 40 groups. So if you're in all these groups, after you hit go on Marketplace, it says, do you want to share in groups? So then I just share away. And if my mutual friends are in that group, then they're going to see it. It's going to come up in their feed. And it's just more branding and letting people know that you're real estate all day, every day. And, when they think real estate, think Christina Leavenworth and her team. So I really like that. And I have my VA helping me out with that.
And when you're, what are you posting exactly? Is it like recent, sold, under contract, that type of stuff?
Just active listing. So Marketplace is where you're putting something that is up for sale. But we did find if we hid the address and didn't put the address or the price, we got way more inquiries. So we were doing that for a while and we definitely got some nasty grams on that. Like, you didn't include the price. But a lot of times people will say, where is that house? What's your number and email? What's your number and email? And we'll send it to you. And then we add it to our CRM and we reach out to them. And, it's better than nothing and it's free. And things do come from it. A lot of my first clients did come from just meeting them on Facebook.
Okay, well, so tons on Facebook. And I love that it's free and anyone can do it from anywhere. Awesome. And I know that you're like branded all over. You have a ton of different marketing and lead generation strategies that you've tested, are testing, all that stuff. Can you walk us through everything that you are dabbling in?
Absolutely. So I am a junkie of real estate and listening to podcasts and getting ideas. And it's almost like a curse where it's like, ooh, let's try this before we fully tried something else. Really trying everything. One thing that has always worked for me and I'll probably never stop doing is radio ads. Radio ads are huge. I pay around $3,000 a month and they kill. They're amazing. So I have the radio ads that go out in the morning and it's someone talking news radio. And then they flawlessly transition, making it sound like another news story. And, and the real estate market's still very crazy. And if you're thinking about buying or selling, there's one person that knows all about real estate and it's Christina Leavenworth. And they go into that, call her at da-da-da-da-da, and he ad-libs it. And people all the time mention the radio. They're like, oh, I hear your name on the radio all the time because he's the main name in town. And I walked into a listing appointment a couple months ago and the guy goes oh, there's the famous realtor. And I was like, oh, did you know me from the news? He's like, what news? He's like, you're the famous realtor that's on the radio all the time. And it was such a moment. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is what I wanted. This is what I've been working on. So it's so cool. And then twice a month, I do the Pensacola expert panel on that same radio station where it's a Q&A for 30 minutes and we talk and we can take that podcast and reuse it for other things. But it's the best money I've ever spent. It's been awesome.
Yeah. Radio ads, no one talks about that. That's when people are like, oh, what are you doing for marketing? Literally zero people besides Christina Leavenworth say radio ads.
Yeah. It's the weirdest thing.
So it's $3,000 a month for, do they say it multiple times throughout the week? Do you have a set number or what? I don't know. What is the exact breakdown? Look, what are you getting for $3,000?
So I believe it's one time a morning. And I used to also have the evening rush. Pensacola is not a big traffic town, so we really don't even have a rush hour. However, no one ever told me they heard me from that host, only the morning host. So I decided to drop the evening one and to go to this expert panel because I felt like there's more I could do from it. I could take it, I could extract clips out. Again, it's all time and energy, but I feel like there was more I could do with that. So it's the expert panel twice a month. And then I guess 20 times a month, the plug in the morning show.
Would you say that your background in news helped that relationship, or can anybody, any realtor, develop a relationship, just reach out to radio?
Any realtor can do it whatsoever. So people have called them since being like, I want the Christina Leavenworth package. And they're like, you can't have it because I have exclusivity. So I did hire a radio consultant. He actually had a podcast years ago and he would always talk about like radio, radio, radio. And one day I was like, I'll call this guy and see what's up. And so he kind of handled everything for me. And he did try to push me to other radio stations and stuff. And I told him, I know this market. This is who people listen to. We need to do this one. So he did a lot of the negotiating. And I probably am paying him to do something here, but it works out and I'm happy with it. So I'm not really asking a whole lot of questions. He wrote scripts at the beginning where it was the whole like, hey, she'll guarantee to buy your house if she can't sell it in a week type of thing. But I don't really like that. It's not me. And again, could I find an investor who will buy it in a week? Yes, I could. However, I prefer them just to be like, hey, you're going to get great communication. You're going to actually enjoy this process and that sort of thing. The cool thing about it is a lot of times other people like hear about it from their friends. So I don't even know the reach of this. So, Billy Bob is telling John about it. John doesn't even listen to the radio. And then I get that lead. So and people will say like, I just heard about you from a friend, but they don't really know where the friend heard about me.
That's funny how that happens too, especially since you've been on someone's brain so much and like so often over a period of time where it's just like, I don't know how I even heard of her, but I just know that she is the realtor to go to. When you say radio, FM, AM, both?
So they have an FM and an AM station. So it's talk radio and they're talking about the current events here in our market. So there is a reason to listen. I would not recommend doing this on a music radio station. It has to be talk radio because people are listening very specifically for, like exactly what's happening, hearing an interview. They want to know what's happening in their community. And I do think though, because I did do news, maybe that helps a little bit at this point, but I'm rarely on there. So maybe there is some name recognition, but I think anyone could do it. And if this guy spoke about them enough, they would go, okay, yeah, that's the person I call.
I don't know if I caught this, but is it your voice on the radio or is the radio host that's already popular and like known, he's the one that's reading a script provided by your manager or whatever?
So originally it's the guy on the radio that says it. It comes from him. So it's like, okay, we're talking about politics in Florida. The weather's 90, 100 degrees. And you know what else is hot? The real estate market. And have I told you Christina Leavenworth knows what she's doing? She's great. Give her a call today. Her and her team are going to keep you like in great hands. They're going to get your home sold. And he ad-libs it based off of the news. And I prefer that. And he asked me to like email him. He's like, tell me a story that you recently encountered. So, when the market was crazy hot, it felt like the same thing. 20 offers sold in one day, 25 offers sold in one day. So sometimes it's like, hey, this person tried to sell their home for sale by owner. They couldn't. We came in and we saved the day. So he tries to use those stories. And then they also pepper in with my package some voiceover ads from him throughout the week. I never really hear those, but they're already canned. But the guy had written specific scripts for him in the past. And I kind of nixed that because I just felt they were too cheesy.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And radio, I don't really quite know, too much how radio works, but all of that is probably, I'm guessing, less than a minute, So with less than like around a minute to tell a story, please tell me if I'm wrong. They're every single morning. That's amazing, to get leads from that. All you need is less than 1 minute. But how long is it truly?
Yeah. It's a minute. You're right. It's 60 seconds that he talks about me and it is perfect. Honestly, he could even do it in 30 seconds. And it's been great. So it's a branding piece that I'll never give up because it's been so critical. And even the people at the radio station now refer me business as well. So it's been a really great thing because they're really entrenched in our community. And that's the key. Find a radio station that people have to listen to in order to learn specific stuff about their community, whether it's local sports or it's local news. That's key.
Dude, the other thing that I think is really cool at what he does is I like that it's not your voice because it's so much better when that's the host and he is already trusted by all of these listeners and in his own voice naturally There's no business better than like being referred. If you're selling yourself, no one wants to hear it. But if someone else is selling you and they're like, no, dude, for real, check it out. So, dude, think that's genius. Love it. Okay. We got radio ads. We got the Facebook. What else you got going on?
I mean, we're doing Zillow. Zillow's fine. For me, it's a break even, maybe even losing a little bit, but it keeps my team happy and motivated. Things are still moving on Zillow. We're getting okay leads on it. It's a numbers game like anything else. It's pricey. Google local service ads. That was killing for a while and it goes up and down, but those are typically come list me calls, which are really, really awesome. And that is when someone is Googling best realtor near me and you pop up in the top few. The algorithm on that is super hard to understand. So I play with it all the time to see what I can do to make it better. And it really is like the ad spend, your amount of reviews, that type of thing. So that works really, really well. So those are a few things. Posting to your Google profile, it helps you pop up. Trying to think what else. There's so many services out there where you have those referral networks. We get leads from that every now and again. I just started doing bigger pockets leads. Those have been good. Those have been really good. And I think they're $50 a pop, which in my market, which is nothing compared to like Zillow, $500 a pop.
That's what I was going to ask. I was going to ask pricing. Okay. So we got 3,000 on the radio ad. We got 500 a pop. Wait, 500 a month on Zillow?
Oh, no, like 6,000 a month on Zillow.
6,000 a month on Zillow. We got the Google local service ads. How much are those?
I think I range between like 1,000 to 2,000 a month, but those definitely pay off.
Okay,
for
gotcha.
Sure.
And then the bigger pockets.
Yeah, bigger pockets. I think I just paid $1,500 for 25 leads. So to me, yeah, that's a win. And I've had a couple phone calls. I think they may convert their real numbers. That's what's so huge about it. I love having a real number with someone you can talk to, even if they're not interested. It's so much better than like the Google PPC leads, which is like, John Doe and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you're calling it and it's a bad number. That just hurts team morale overall, I think. So I think just getting real people on the other line is key, however you can find them.
So you are marketing all over the place. You have digital, you have radio, and like no wonder you are growing your crew, or rather that you had to I'm just imagine the amount of like different sources of leads that you have. And so at what point did you start hiring other people for leverage, assistance, help?
So I started real estate in 2017, but I was still working at the TV station and I wasn't able to leave the TV station due to contractual obligations until 2019. So June 2019, I got my first agent on my team. And it was just her and I for a long time. And we were rolling through it. We had no idea what we were doing. We had zero systems, zero CRM. My team, even as we grew to like 8 or 9 agents, we didn't get a CRM really until May of 2022. And like in 2021, we sold 200 homes without a CRM. And I'm like, dang, what could we have done if we actually had a CRM? And I know, Ali, you're a systems girl and everything. So you're probably like, what? We just didn't know how to do these things. So
I cannot believe you did that many transactions without a CRM. I'm dying inside. Wow. Okay. So I want to take this so many different directions. I want to go like, how did you even do that without a CRM? And also once you started using the CRM and like growing the team, I think I want to take it there. Growing the team. Who was your first person? And then who was your second? When? Why? At what point?
Yeah. So a girl named Dana, she was awesome. She joined, she had a couple years experience. We had a lot of growing challenges together, doing this wild ride together. And I remember one time I group texted her with a client. I'm like, hey, so-and-so's ready to buy a house. And she just wrote back, hi. And my husband and I are like, what? Just hi. And we joke about this with her now. And if she listens to this, she'll laugh. And she's like, I was just saying hi. And I'm like, it looked like hi. And just like things like that. And we learned to grow. And then other people were attracted because then we got so big and could only handle so much. I brought my assistant on in 2020. And at the beginning, it's like, you're just going to we don't know what you're going to do. And then at the beginning, sometimes she folded my underwear. Other times she was like running and putting lock boxes on places. And then finally toward the end, I mean, she was a bad transaction coordinator, assistant, like knows the contract like the back of her hand. She recently left for another job, but like again, just we've grown organically, but introducing the CRM was so painful to the team without having one because everyone was just kind of going on their own. They were organized in their own world. And it really was one agent that came to work with me and she was great and had a lot of energy. And she's like, you have no systems. Like, I have no idea what to do. It's just like, you don't have a CRM. You have no like standard operating procedures. She came from a job that had that where, we're just kind of like, yeah, just go out and sell houses. And here's how you write a contract and keep notes in your phone or don't. And her doing that forced me to go, we need to do something better. And so we got Follow Up Boss, and for 6 months, barely used it. No one used the phone numbers. No one knew how to do a thing. And some agents were getting mad because some, drip emails were going to their clients and how dare that happen. But now, I mean, it's so nice once you set these systems in place. It's like, okay, we use Follow Up Boss. Here's your Follow Up Boss number. Here's how it works. Here are the expectations. And I feel like team members like that as well, because then they know what that looks like. And they go, okay, we know what you want, so we can do that. And Follow Up Boss is honestly such a great system for teams, the way it works and everything. And it's been a game changer for us, just being able to even go on vacation. Other people can jump in and see the whole conversation and see what's going on. And even for compliance, it's great. Like, wait, what did I tell them their purchase price is going to be when I met with them 6 months ago? And you don't have to go through all these text messages. And it's just right there in that system.
I feel like what you just talked about is like a very common thing where it's like, oh, I'm just going to sell real estate. And then the bigger you get, that you can handle it as one and people come on. But the longer you go down the road, the harder it gets almost to implement the system on the back end. So can you take us through what that actually looked like to go from having no CRM to having a consolidated one as a team? Yo, real quick, this podcast is not free. Cost of admission is sharing with a buddy who'd benefit or throwing it on your Instagram story. Tag us, we'll reshare that.
Yeah, it was painful. It was really painful. Even asking people to log in there and asking them to use Follow Up Boss numbers. That really scared them, thinking like, okay, this is a number you own. You can port it out. And I've told everyone in their contracts, we will port it out, no problem for you. Like, I don't want to keep your number. Like, we're not going to inhibit you from selling real estate. But that made them feel really weird.
What does port it out mean?
So the number is in Follow Up Boss. You could port it out to a different CRM. It's or you could get another phone line and then send that number there. So they can keep that number if they choose to do so. And that's not a problem at all for me. But it was painful asking them when we first started doing team meetings, that was the worst thing ever because everyone had different, things in their world. And when you don't have that at the front end and then you ask for it later, people don't like change at all. So that made it very difficult.
So with the CRM, so was it you had a vision, you're like, okay, this is what we're doing. Everyone, or you're going to take all of your clients and you're going to individually import them into Follow Up Boss in your own little subcategory within my team? Or was it did you consolidate all and do it yourself? Did you hire someone to do this?
Yeah. So the brokerage did have Boomtown, just no one ever used it. So there was a system where some information was, or maybe some bot leads were. So moving forward, it was just okay, go ahead and import it. And they also had a lot of Excel sheets, with their clients' names on it, or we could export that from the MLS. So when we set someone up on an MLS search, we're putting in their name and email. So it was a lot of, exporting from one place and importing there. And then I did hire someone with Follow Up Boss to go ahead and build out all the drip campaigns and everything because it was getting too difficult for me to try to figure out on my own.
So then what does your team structure look like? And regarding everything, splits, meetings, when, how many, who has to go, or just what's your team culture like?
I mean, it has changed so much over the past year. I've had so much turnover, which really did change a lot of things. Where if somebody said, I can't make this meeting, or I don't really want to do the CRM, I was trying to meet them in the middle so much all the time. And that's like really hard to do because some people are all in doing it and then one person isn't. And I'm trying to meet them in the middle. And you're just not a good leader if you do that. So I went to a squad structure where I had squad leaders handling like other members of the team. And I thought that was going to be so amazing. And everyone loved it at first. But then people were like, okay. And they were meeting twice a week to say, hey, here's my goal the next couple of days. Did you meet it or not? And they were only supposed to be 5 to 10 minute meetings. But the squad leaders, even, they're out showing property. It just didn't work the way I hoped it would at this time. With the larger team, I really needed that. With a smaller team, I don't think I need that anymore. So we're meeting once a week on Tuesdays, and we meet for about an hour. And we're going to go over the listings we have, because when they get sign calls, like you need to know what you're talking about, at least have some sort of knowledge about that, talking about any sort of issues, and also doing a little bit of role play and talking about different trends in the industry happening right now. And it's just, I think it's really important for us all to touch base once a week. If it goes too long, it's easy for people to feel forgotten about, confused, and not stay on track. So there's that. The team's structure with splits is 50-50 for everything. So we provide quite a bit of leads and everything. So it's 50-50 if you have a seller that was generated by me or a buyer. I know a lot of other teams, the structure is a little different because of all the costs associated with a listing, but I just look at them as partners. So everything's 50-50. As far as expectations, I really started with 100 calls a week. I was like, everyone needs to make 100 dials, because I figured that would mean you're in the CRM. You're doing something in the CRM. I've backed off of that a bit because everyone is so busy right now. But that's my whole thing. I just want to know that they're using the CRM on a daily basis. They're seeing who needs to be followed up with. If they're texting people, that's fine. There was just a large percentage that weren't really using the CRM, and that was a way for me to try to push them to doing that. And sometimes some of these expectations have been intentional to try to maybe push certain people out, to be like, okay, we have a new expectation, and it has naturally done that, which has been kind of nice.
Apple listeners, this short pause is to ask you for a review. Here's how to do it. Back out of the specific episode, go to the page where you see all the episodes, scroll down, keep scrolling. Perfect. Now tap those 5 stars. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
Yeah, so that's exactly what I was going to ask, is like about the expectations of your agents and even like the staff that you have on your team. How have the expectations changed? And are there other expectations? And actually, I have so many questions. How are you even having the time to be able to look in and follow up and make sure that they are doing what is expected?
That was where that squad structure was in place, because they were going to really do that. Right now, honestly, with a team of 6, with the amount of leads we have coming in, I can't turn people off. I need all 6 people to be on, because if you miss a Zillow call or something, you get penalized. If you miss a Google call, they're going to go, they don't pick up the phone. We're not going to keep sending them business. So I need people to pick up. So originally it was like, do you not answer Google calls sometimes?
I answer.
I saw your face.
I don't answer any calls. Oh, dang.
So they'll like Zillow, they have an answer rate that looks at that, and they will give you more leads if you have a higher answer rate. Google really cares about that. If you're not picking up on a consistent basis, they're not going to send you any more calls, no matter how much you pay. So I need people to answer it. So I was going to turn people off, but then, half the team is out showing property. And then other days, some people need a day off. And I totally get that. So right now, everyone is turned on, but it is difficult. A lot of times people have life situations. You have a sick kid, you have family members, and that's real stuff where, I couldn't make my calls this week. But for me, it's just overall, like, are you working? Are you like working hard on a daily basis when you can? Are you making real estate a priority? And you can see that. And I think that those people naturally get rewarded, and you see their business grow. You just do. If they put the intention out there, it usually works out for them.
Okay, quick question on you. So it sounds like you have like a decent amount of overhead with all of the marketing that you're doing. And do you know how many, or is there a requirement for the people on your team to close X amount a month to stay on the team? Or what does that piece look like?
I don't have that right now, but I do think that naturally kind of works itself out. If people aren't making money, they're not going to want to stay on the team. So, and you need to sell homes to make money. So, I don't have that. I have talked to some people that have if you don't sell at least one home, $500. And I was like, that's interesting, just to look at because, and she gives them like a 1-month waiver, like in case something was going on in their life. But if you're a full-time realtor, you really should be selling one home a month, at least at the very minimum, if you're doing this every day. And I think most of my agents do that. I don't think there's anyone that hasn't, unless it has been like extenuating life circumstances.
Looking back now, so in 2019, when you were able to finally break free of your newscaster crew thing, and you started the team right away, do you ever look back and be like, man, I could have done on my own, maybe just had a real lightweight, just assistant and been a solo agent and crushed out of this? Or are there ever those moments, or are you like, no, the team is everything I've ever wanted? I'm curious because I've personally been through.
Yeah. As a real estate agent, with the team, they become your family. And I think I've allowed them to become my family really close. And I think hopefully I've built some good boundaries now where when they're upset, it's like, your sister's upset and you're like, okay, yeah, you have to use the team signs. That's required. And there was crying over that and everything. And I don't like people crying either. And that was difficult where it's like, screw this. I just want to do this by myself and have a salaried showing assistant. However, I do like having the team, but I think having the smaller, more manageable team is the way to go for me. Because at my happiest, when I've seen it, it's always been 5 to 6 agents and kind of hovering around there. They're getting plenty of leads. They're happy. And also just not having as high of overhead of having an in-house marketing person. We don't need that. We can hire someone one day a month to do what we need. And that's way more affordable. And just all the marketing pieces, when you have 10 agents, there's a lot more demands, a ton more. And just you're doing life with 10 people. That's really hard. Doing life with 5 or 6 is a little bit more manageable. As far as lessons learned, CRM all day long. That would have been the very first thing. We had Boomtown. We just chose not to use it. I would have said, this is what we need to do. And the whole saying with Follow Up Boss, in the community, if it didn't happen in Follow Up Boss, it didn't happen. If you tell me you called 12 of your friends, but I'm not seeing it there, it didn't happen. So if you're telling me you're not making money, now at least I have something to go, okay, let's see what you're doing each week. You're not making any calls. You're not texting anyone. I don't see any appointments. Of course you're not going to make any money. And it's very easy to point back to that versus someone saying they're doing all this stuff and you have no proof of it.
100%. Yeah. So I want to dive into the golden nugget now. The golden nugget, as everyone should know by now, is the nugget of information that all guests provide for free. They can find it at theagentgoldmine.com. What did you bring today, Christina?
I am going to give you a checklist on how to utilize Facebook Marketplace and groups to get your listings out there and hopefully bring you some leads. It'll be a checklist, do A, B, and C. It's very easy and hopefully it'll help you bring in some leads.
You are dominating in Facebook, so that's going to be so helpful. Thank you for providing that. With the business that you have now, you have the right amount of people on your team. After having played around with that a bit, and your business is amazing. You are doing so well. I've spoken to several agents out in Pensacola area. They're like, oh yeah, Christina, she has a great team. You're known. What does the future look like for you? What are you working on next?
Really working just to continue to grow. We kind of sat at this 200 number. I really want to get to 365 homes a year. I think that would be really cool. It's a great number to get to. And I really think we can, all working together just to get to know more people and just, having a more systematized business where you can go, if I do this, I get X. And I do feel like with the level of marketing we are doing, it's going to come back to us. And each year it does more and more and more. And I do encourage, again, people use social media, post like a crazy person about real estate all the time, anywhere you can. I just had a friend from California who saw it, and she's going to be buying her mom a house in Pensacola. And it's only because I did that she's doing this. Like otherwise she would have Googled like realtor in Pensacola. You have to like continue to remind people all the time that you are the real estate agent taking up real estate in their brain, and make sure that like you take up more space than everyone else. And this is my big goal for like the entire industry, is we need to like kick out the onesie twosie agents that maybe sell one home every 3 years, because that's our competition. The other rock stars out there are not. They're doing awesome. They're doing a great job. These people that are only selling a couple of homes a year, they don't know what they're doing. And that is a disservice to the client. And it just makes our job more difficult trying to like keep these transactions together. So I really think, if we can just have true professionals in the industry, that is going to really, it's the ones that aren't professional that make people question our worth. The ones that are professional, I get it all day, every day. Like, Christina, this was like, you're the best realtor I ever had. Like, I've never had an experience like this. And I mean, I'm not doing anything crazy. I'm just communicating with them and doing my job.
Dude, that's a cool take on it that I've never heard before, where it's like industry goal or get off the pot.
Yes.
Don't just hang around.
Well, I look at our numbers and it's really like 85% of the sales are coming from people that sell 1 or 2 homes a year. That's insane. And only 15% or less are selling more than 5 homes a year. It's so crazy. So it's all of these Aunt Susies out there that are like, oh, I sell real estate. And then they put their sign out there. They take terrible cell phone photos and then, eventually sell it. And then the person says they had a terrible experience and they'll never use a realtor again. And just changing it so it's just the professionals. I mean, yeah, get off the pot.
Dude, I love that. Super cool. And your goal of 365 sales in a year is awesome. Like, I remember, that's one of my favorite things about you in general is like the intensity in which you just go for things, and specifically in marketing, because I know that there were a lot of people probably freaked out who were listening before and they were adding up the 3,000 for radio ads and the 6 and all of that stuff. But the cool thing about it is you just said it, you're investing in your market share. And you know that in the long run, like all of that brand awareness and the lead generating and all of the different sources, especially now that you have a CRM to grab that information, maintain it, and follow up. Like, dude, 365, like full support. Like, I know you're that.
And my first year, I did 65 without 1 penny of marketing dollars. And then the second year, I think we did like 110 without 1 penny toward this. And then once we started doing more and had more agents come in, I wanted to feed them more leads. And I had to turn on the spigot of Zillow saying, okay, here's a little bit more of a flow here. And then radio, I didn't find that, I don't think, until 2020. So it was several years of not spending a dollar on it. And then getting that money, taking your time, and then saying, all right, I've made this much money. Let me reinvest it into myself.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember clearly, I think we were on a call after Real Estate Rockstars Mastermind, and your goal for the week was like, I want to do so many videos that they get sick of seeing my face. And I was just like, that's Christina.
And I think it's been working because I've had some people like your videos, and you meet people in the community. I love your videos, and they're simple stuff like what's an appraisal, what's a home inspection, what's an earnest money deposit. You can talk all day and do videos in this industry because there's so many things you can talk about. All the acronyms, what does FHA stand for? Like, no one knows. If you're not in this industry, you don't know what those things are. Sometimes we think it's so simple, but to the public, it's really complicated.
Yeah, you and Ali are same on being able to just take everyday scenarios and just like create video and but Christina, as we head to wrap up, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd like to talk about, or some words of wisdom, lessons learned? What you got?
I don't know. This has been good. It's been a lot. I just think, set a schedule, get up, get dressed, work a 9 to 5, 7 to 3, like you would do any other job. You have to do that. you have to work this like a job or you're not going to make money. I mean, it would be crazy to think you would if you didn't. You don't get to just do this 1 hour a day and think you're going to make money. You have to work it like any other job.
Yeah. Although I might disagree with the get dressed part. I do a lot of this job without a bra.
No, you don't need to. I went on the news without a bra. So, I mean, you can do any job without a bra. So it works.
Okay, Christina, wrap up questions. What is your favorite app or tool?
I love Todoist. It's like to-do list without the L. It is awesome. And I use that for my VA. I use that for my life and it's amazing. You get to click it and it goes away and it's very shareable and it's free.
Dude, okay. What events are you going to this year, Christina?
Real Estate Rockstars. Super excited about that one. That is honestly my favorite event out of all the events I've gone to. It's so special and I love it. I'm doing Tom Ferry Summit in August and I don't know what else. So I'm an event junkie. So if you have a good one coming up,
well, I'll be seeing you at both then. So I'm going to a Tom Ferry. Yeah, I'm not even in the coaching,
awesome.
But I'm like, I'm such a big Tom Ferry fan. Like just the amount of information that they give away for free is amazing. So I'll see you next month.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
how can we help you in your business? The answer cannot be you can't. There has to be a way.
Send me some referrals. Greater Pensacola area, the Panhandle. You can find me on Instagram on This Is Christina Leavenworth. Or you can just Google me. That's the easiest thing. And give me a call. I text back in seconds. So yeah, I'd love to help anyone out. They'll be in good hands.
Dude, love it. And you got our fourth question, which was where can people find you?
Yeah, This is Christina Leavenworth on Instagram.
Perfect. And we are Ali, the agent, and the Shelby Show on the gram. Guys, hit us with feedback. So of course, follow us, friend us, whatever. We care more about you letting us know how we can improve and who do you want on the show. So those are the things that hit up Ali and I, we want to know. And that is what we got for today. Christina, thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you for having me. It was awesome and looking forward to it. Hugs.
Virtual hug, yes. And just a reminder, guys, you can find her golden nugget on theagentgoldmine.com. And listeners, this is for you. Be a bro and share this show. Bye. Thanks so much for listening, dude. If you want the golden nugget that this guest provided, see the show notes or just go straight to theagentgoldmine.com. That's where we keep all our resources for you. Till next time.